Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a musician. They sometimes a Greek musician. They sometimes have on. I don't know if he's playing tonight or it might. Yeah, back once more.
Good evening and welcome.
Hello, everybody. It's great to see you all here tonight. And we've got an amazing evening ahead of us. We've got some fantastic performers waiting to entertain you. And thank you all so much for coming. First of all, I'd like to introduce somebody who is a regular at our poetry and spoken word nights. And he's a great supporter of GFMA. He's a writer who works in Woolwich, and his name is Chris Shanley. So welcome, Chris. I think you're muted. Sorry.
Okay.
That's it. That's fine.
It's okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Jill, for that introduction. Yes, I enjoy being a supporter and contributing occasionally. And it's all great. So tonight, I'd like to well, first of all, say hello to everyone. It's always a pleasure to be amongst so many talented people in different guises. So tonight I'm going to introduce a relation of mine. He was a poet and a soldier in the First World War. His name his name is Francis Ledwidge. That's Ledwidge, and he was my great uncle. He was my dad's mother's brother. In fact, so it's going back a little bit. And he was he grew up in Ireland, and he volunteered as an Irish Catholic, as many Irish Catholics did, to join the fight against Germany in the First World War. His explanation was he saw Germany as the greater enemy to mankind at the time. So he wrote poetry from a very young age, staring out of his bedroom window into the garden, into the fields that lay beyond, observing nature, and he became known as the blackbird poet. So he wrote a lot about nature and observations in life. Also romantic, wrote quite a lot of romantic stuff. Obviously, as he became military involved, then wrote about his war experiences. Also, before that, wrote quite a bit of which is quite fascinating stuff. Wrote quite a bit about Irish mythology or Gaelic mythology. So anyway, and unfortunately, he was killed by a stray shell on the 31st of July, 1917, which was the first day of Passchendaele. So being all over, having been to Serbia and Greece and Egypt, and before going to the Western Front. So tragically, his life was cut short. So I have 3 poems for him of his tonight. So the first one is called "The Homecoming of the Sheep," and I hope everyone can hear me okay. Right, okay. So the first one: the sheep are coming home in Greece. Hark the bells on every hill. Flock by flock and fleece by fleece, wandering wide a little piece through the evening red and still, stopping where the pathways cease, cropping with a hurried will. Through the cotton bushes low, merry boys with shouldered crooks close them in a single row, shout among them as they go, with one bell ringing over the brooks. Such delight you never know, reading it from gilded books. Before the early stars are bright, cormorants and seagulls call, and the moon comes large and white, filling with a lovely light the ferny curtained waterfall. Then sleep wraps every bell up tight, and the climbing moon grows small. That's the first one. The second one is called "The Little Children." Hunger points a bony finger to the workhouse on the hill, but the little children linger where there's flowers to gather still for my sunny windowsill. In my hands I take their faces, smiling to my smiles they run. Would that I could take their places where the murky byways shun the benedictions of the sun. How they laugh and sing, returning lightly on their secret way. While I listen in my yearning, their laughter fills the windy day with gladness, youth, and May. So now we have the third and final one, soliloquy. When I was young, I had a care, lest I should cheat me of my share, of that which makes it sweet to strive for life, and dying still survive. A name in sunshine written higher than lark or poet dare aspire. But I grew weary doing well. Besides, 'twas sweeter in that hell, down with the loud banditti people, who robbed the orchards, climbed the steeple for jackdaws' eggs, and made the cock crow 'twas daylight on the clock. I was so very bad, the neighbours spoke of me at their daily labours. And now I'm drinking wine in France, the helpless child of circumstance. Tomorrow will be loud with war. How will I be accounted for? It is too late now to retrieve a fallen dream, too late to grieve, a name unmade, but not too late to thank the gods for what is great. A keen-edged sword, a soldier's heart, is greater than a poet's art, and greater than a poet's fame, a little grave that has no name. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill.
I
Thank you,
really
Jill.
enjoyed that. And
Yeah,
it's amazing that somebody who's in the middle of war and all that destruction can see beauty as well.
yes, yeah. And
Fantastic.
I chose three that were slightly different. The little children, that was mainly kept up. He kept that uplifting, although in a background of suffering in a way, and the children were still trying to be playful in difficult circumstances. And the last one, yeah, with his experiences of war, and as a young man being a bit dubious with some of his behaviour, but then suddenly thrust into this terrible situation. And the first one, his experience of watching the sheep coming home in Greece. So there was, a bit for. I find that so much of his stuff very moving. So these three are just a very, very small snippet. But thank you, everyone for listening. I hope I hope you can take something from that.
Definitely. And if you look at
Thank you.
if you look at the comments, somebody's written a beautiful comment about the poems. So I really enjoyed that. I'm sure
Thank you,
everybody else
Jill.
did. And look
Thank you
forward
very
to you
much.
coming again sometime.
I will do. Thank you, Jill. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So, now we've got somebody who has been a long friend of Global Fusion. She herself is involved with Outer Globe and Resonance FM. She's a broadcaster, DJ, an arts consultant, and she's a fantastic poet as well. So I'm really looking forward to hearing some of her fantastic poems tonight. Well, welcome, Debbie Gates.
Greetings, thank you so much for that introduction. Just before I go into mine, I'm just going to say about this children finding joy in whatever circumstance. I find myself thinking about the children of Gaza,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
they're so beautiful. I've been trying to write some new poems lately. I wrote some short ones in workshops and things recently with Commutan Arts, but I'm reverting to one I wrote actually 2010, and alongside Palestine, Congo has at last been taken notice of what's happening there. And this, I mean, it's quite a harsh poem, but again, there's some beauty in it, but it's quite harsh, I do warn you. It's called Reverberations. And actually, it's in a book from Harlesden Poetry Hub from 2010. Reverberations. Every time I receive news, good news, bad news, change of plan news, it resonates. Every time my phone vibrates, I think of you. A message carrying more than its mundane task embeds in my soul. Every time I dance to the sinewy, seductive, scintillating sounds of soukous, boundless rippling guitar, soaring vocals, sharing untold pleasures of freedom, I empathize, I sympathize with all my heart. I think of you. Born of pressure, the music speaks loud and clearly of our shared humanity. Good news, bad news, change of plan news, reassure me, Give me measures of joy and surmountable pain in the ebb and flow of my normal day-to-day. The buzz of communication, notification, good news, bad news, the change of plan brings mixed emotions as the coltan fuses with the tungsten, makes my phone judder, makes my bones shudder. Every time he heard the crack of a whip, Bob Marley's blood ran cold, memory indelibly etched, experience reaching across time and space. Every time my phone vibrates, your blood runs. I saw a program about you on TV. I watched it first with a dispassionate mind that enables me to cope when presented with inexorable truths beyond the scope of my imagination. But there was a moment I could no longer dissociate. A little girl, just 2, barely able to walk on her own terms, let alone in recovery from unspeakable brute force, as she completed 3 feminine generations of the same family, thrown out by those that could have cherished them. Necessity or luxury. Phones worked fine before mercurial usury changed the plan, pillaged the coltan, inserted the tungsten. Good news, bad news, change of plan news, making my phone vibrate against a backdrop of hate. I've joked with my friends, saying, how did we manage without mobile phones? Fine-tuned personal antenna and honesty saw us through. We went to where we said we would at the time we knew we should, in touch with our inner clocks, time-honored traditions of trust. Your time-honored renditions of care, lost in the thrust of warfare, fought in the disputed zone, where men are trained to be predatory, losing all their dignity, making you, the woman, the front line. Every time Bob Marley heard the crack of a whip, his blood ran cold, memory indelibly etched, experience reaching across time and space. Every time my phone vibrates, your blood runs. Safe houses run by women who more than understand, who found their voices and their strength speaking out about what happened. The best ones to help, those who are just finding their way again. They can help you. They are helping you. They're reaching out same way to those young boys deep in the mine, scraping the coltan from the sides of the cobalt shafts, not knowing how their exploitation fuels the conflict of ownership of your shared land. Teach a woman to read and you transform the whole village. Change the world one woman at a time. The strength of women is unstoppable. Women for Women International is making inroads, opening the gates. When my phone vibrates, I think of you. Every time I receive good news, bad news, change of plan news, it resonates. I spread the word with messages from my phone. I do what I can. There is a plan to change and help. Woman by woman, we'll subvert the power of the coltan. Memory repaired, healing by those who cared enough, reaching across the time and space. Every time my phone vibrates, Mother Earth has a face, and I know you will regain your sense of grace, woman by woman. One woman can change anything. Many women can change everything, no longer taking the rough with the rough. Good news, bad news, make a new plan news, spread a new vibration.
Thank you so much, Debbie. That was incredibly powerful. And, you know, that image of the phone, every time the phone vibrates, that repetition just brings it home. You know, how often good things, but also bad things, horrific things that should never happen, occur. And you know, how much individual people actually could do if they got themselves involved. Thank you so much.
We do have power.
Yes.
We do have power.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, I really love your work. It's amazing. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
blessings.
Sorry, we don't. You don't seem to be able to clap. We don't seem to be able to clap very well today. Sorry about that. But because we're completely online, which is unusual. Anyway, thank you so much, Debbie. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Now, the next
Likewise.
lady, oh, thank you. The next performer, hopefully, is Jacqueline Waziri here?
Hello, Joe. I'm here. Thank you so much.
Oh, wonderful. It's so great to hear you.
Thank you so much. I must apologize about my video today. It's giving me some issues. I do apologize. So this poem is called Along the Way, something just to motivate everyone here and the world. The journey may seem unclear. It is with your own eyes that you must see. The journey may seem far. It is with your walk that you must part the way. The journey may seem cold. It is with your warmth that they must feel. The journey may seem dark. It is with your light that you must share. The journey may seem heartless. It is with your eternal that you are deathless. The journey may seem silent. It is with your breath that you are heard. The journey may seem dark. It is yourself that you must find. The journey may seem soundless. It is your echo that will live to tell. The journey may seem everlasting. It is your only chance, and this is the way. Thank you so much.
Wow.
And then I'll read one of my poems from my book Moana, which is called Tribes, the African Tribes. I'm bringing it to you all here tonight. So, tribes. The eye's oldest tribes. The eye's oldest tribes. The eye's oldest tribes lives and breathes on the soil of Tanganyika, seen and breathes throughout its 54 faces and its 4 corners, deep opening its third eye, semi-naked, covered in animal skin, vibration codes, all sounds of clicks, hunts, the spirit of Ubuntu, igniting natural fires in its very deep valleys, Ashanti, Maasai, Hadzabe, bringing you the closest, being living to my, ours, yours, my, our ancestors. Thank you so much.
We have applause. Just to say about Jacqueline Waziri, she is from Tanzania, and she's an amazing poet, as you can hear. And she was reading some poetry from her book Moana, which is available on Amazon and no doubt other places as well. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Thank
If you look in the comment section, you will see some very positive comments from different people. Thank you so much for appearing.
Thank you
Lovely to
so
see you.
much. Sorry about the camera. Thank you, everyone.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you. So unfortunately, Yema Sekmet Mart was going to perform tonight, but she's very unwell. So hopefully we'll have her another time. But next up, we have got Andrew Theodorou. He's an amazing musician. He plays the bouzouki and he has got a lot of CDs on GFMA Records. So you can buy them if you like his work. You can download from GFMA Records, and he's going to play a couple of tracks acoustic from his album, hopefully sound permitting. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay,
Great to
good
see you.
evening. I'm sorry I can't hear very well what's going on your end. I hope you can hear what's happening my end. As you probably know, GFMA has thankfully put together 2 CDs of instrumentals that I've done over the years, and releasing it. I think it's probably out there now. They're called Bouzouki Breeze. This is a Bouzouki Breeze. I got the idea from Mandolin Wind, of course. Anyway, Bouzouki Breeze 1 and 2. There are 18 tracks on each album. And if you download, stream, or purchase, I hope you enjoy every single one of them. I'm going to play 2 pieces this evening for you. One was from a rehearsal we did recently with my new outfit, which we are calling Mystic Mambo. It's based on a Django Stefan Grappelli style, but Greek style. Yeah, Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli. We've got double bass, we've got violin, guitar, and bouzouki, and a vocal. And I hope you're going to enjoy it. And here we go. Yeah. So we go to the first track on Bouzouki Breeze 1. Strangely enough, if you translate the title, the first track is called "Tonight I'm Going to Drink the Moon." This guy is so madly in love that he just wants to drink and drink and drink and and anyway, that's the story behind it. So tonight I'm going to drink the moon. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the sound wasn't too bad. And anyway, two albums, Bouzouki Breeze 1, Bouzouki Breeze 2. Enjoy. And thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Andrew. We did have a few problems with latency then. I'm sorry, everybody. And because of that, Louisa's suggested maybe she can play a track from her computer. So we're going to try to do that now. But thank you very much. That is
thank you so much.
Music.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That's wonderful, that music, so uplifting. And
I wish I could hear you.
oh, I hope everybody can hear. I hope other people can hear me. It was wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. And if you'd like to download or buy a CD of his music, you can. I think Edna's put up in the chat where you can buy it from. Thank you so much. And
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
yeah, looking
Thanks.
forward to listening to more of that beautiful.
I really appreciate it, and I look forward to playing live for you soon.
Fabulous. Yes, yeah. I think we're having a Greek night in my Mycenae house again this year, so that will be good. Somebody asked where the instrument came from, and the answer is Greece. So, and it's called the bouzouki. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
No, thank you. It was fantastic. So, have we got Antoinette anywhere? Antoinette Clark Akalane.
I'm afraid not.
Oh dear. So, that was an amazing group of performers. Thank you all so much. And so we're coming to the point in the night where we're going to hear from our featured writer, Zon Conto. We're so excited to have you here, and he's performing all the way from Canada. So it's amazing. Welcome, Zon Conto, and looking forward to talking to you. I can't believe that you're all the way in Canada. It's like you're just in the next room or something. It's lovely, so lovely to have you here. I really admire your writing, and looking forward to hearing from you. I think we're going to ask you to perform, just go straight in and perform a few of your poems, and then I'll start asking you a few questions.
Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for welcoming me in this space. I'm Bonisi Zikali Zomkonto, and I'm originally from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. And I am more than happy to share some of my work, and I hope it's a good listen to you.
Thank you.
In the beginning was poetry, and poetry was with God. And one day, these poems were dropped from the sky like political campaign pamphlets. But since mother was my first recitation, I kindly refused. You see, the first poem was Mama, whispering incantations into my childlike eyes that left me forever blind to the ways of this world. She said, "You, my child, shall see more than I ever saw, and your tears are going to become the same river in which we plant the fish of our ancestry, so that they never claim you did not break fish to feed your kin, but the bread you shall find yourself." But then came other demigods like Damuzo Marechera, like Sylvia Plath, whose death made me afraid of stoves. So I cook these poems in burning bushes that spring up from the fire in my mother's eyes. And I would have boxed Shakespeare's ear hot for letting Brutus kill Caesar, because people that stab you in the back are as cowardly as borrowed time. But I'll take a poem or two and from Chaucer, from Ben Okri, from my father, whose poem was me. I came out of his heart screaming into my mother's arms with stanzas. I heard my second poem from the bus that used to take us to our great-grandmother each summer. And I swear when she spoke, it was in words that impregnated the soul. And once fertilized, you gave birth to words that made with thorns that she expected you to walk upon to prove that you were a man. I still crouch close to her grave in my mind and dig up 6 feet deep poems I feed generously to the world, one termite at a time. And one thing about first poems, you don't have to remember them. The first one I wrote was about my mother's smile. Until the brutality of this world torched her womb like the Library of Alexandria, and I had to retract it like a banned political book, and the burning edges took to the sky and became flickering stars for our pitch dark ghetto nights. They still burn bright in silence, and each star-studded stanza sheds its skin. The sparks fall like miniature light bulbs, while we jump up to catch them on days the ghetto streetlights do not turn on in time. My second poem carries on the theme of poets and poetry. I imagine that a conversation with poets begins something like this. A ritual is performed in a parallel universe where medicinal roots do not grow from the ground, but hang upside down from the sky, so that they do not have to wait for rain, but drink directly from the clouds. And when they are harvested and crushed into a paste of powder, they are mixed into a poet's food to make the voice grow louder with each syllable uttered. And these concoctions, mixed into the poet's favorite dishes, are not eaten from plates, but blank pages that do not tear from the spine of their books, but hold on to their binding for dear life with the bare hands of their poetic voice, clutching on every ounce of breath inside the similes and metaphors, careful not to let go and have the themes inside the book fall loosely into an ungathered heap on the floor. But even then, nothing is ever lost, because that heap can still be rearranged into a completely different, enchanting conversation altogether, complete with a new language to accompany it. A poet can hold a conversation with themselves, going back and forth as if they had discovered their long-lost twin in the mirror and were making up for lost time. A discussion so rich in its meaning that you can mine for gold inside the reflection of your lips, moving to the orchestra of your intonation. A dialogue like a fog lifting from the eyes of hidden truth. A reflection of the tongue, weeping language into shapes that fit perfectly into the chasms that torment the lonely human spirit. A conversation with poets is the chaos of an intimate beauty, where language can be formed without words, or when we are tempted to use them, it's with an alphabet entirely of our own, using gestures that look like hieroglyphics caught in tidal waves, then thrown to the shore to leave tribal drawings in the sand. Talking to poets is to knock on doors with gargoyles for doorknobs that pour out with the overflow of what is kept hidden inside, dying to speak stanza upon stanza into the endless dryness of time. So just as our poems, gave birth to ourselves and mirrored our tongues, our ancestors were reading theirs when they crouched over rivers. No cameras, because theirs was a different time. So you see, my forefathers lived when rivers were their facial recognition software. And you had to run along the riverbank investing smile after smile. Different angles for each ripple, and people standing a mile down the same current could swear they saw your appearance and gestures floating by. The slippery arms of the river cuddling their reflections, down tributaries and photo booths of ancestral truth that flowed until their collective expressions gathered around the umbilical cord of the ocean, waiting to be reborn. But if those rivers dried up along the way, the sun cut out the middlemen and took those same reflections directly to the sky. And with the evaporation, their facial features recollected into pixels of cloud, droplets of images becoming a feast of mist that redistributed itself across the sky as puddles that struggled to mirror each inch of emotion until they caved in and became picturesque droplets of rain. Each lightning strike was a shutter button, each landing reordering their faces in the sand. So when you see shapes and shadows in the clouds, remember rivers are vigilant photographers, squinting their eyes through sudden dips in the tide, kneeling along river banks to repeat the process, such that every time it rains, I am drenched in their praise poem, black and proud. So give me an avalanche of those raindrops. Let them cascade down the ski slopes of my own rugged edges, taking screenshots of the naked valleys and forgotten imperfections that I have kept hidden. Let the torrential downpour of their wrinkles leave squiggles on the camera lens of all those peeking into the street to catch a glimpse of my ancestral code. Those trying to download my totems via modems, let them know that my photographic memory is one with the river, where the first picture-perfect caption of my forefathers was screenshot by the virgin wave, crashing against the shores of their eyelashes, cascading down their cheeks as tears of redemption. My forefathers lived when mirrors, water bodies, upon which their reflection was never thirsty to be seen. But if you cupped your hands and took a drink from the river, your tongue saved their memory upon its surface, and you never did thirst for a single drop ever again. Zamkond.
Wow, that has just taken my breath away. Just
Thank you.
an absolute onslaught of images, and I love the way you go in and out of time, your ancestors to modern day, equipment, and so much packed into those poems. I'm
Thank you so much.
I'm sure we would all love to know a little bit more about you now. And, how long, for instance, have you been writing? Have you always had
Oh,
images?
I won my first poetry certificate when I was 8 for for a poem which had a strange title. It was called Mr. Dead Ears. So I was I was talking about the wax in my ears and saying it prevents me from hearing the sounds in the world. And so it was a pretty strange reflection from an 8-year-old, but I I reflect on that and just enjoy the very facts that words took us, to the sky at a very early age. Because you see, I believe that what people fail to tap into are the many different styles of poetry, the many experiences of them around the world, because we tend to concentrate on the ones emphasized by colonizers, so if you don't know Chaucer, then you don't know poetry. If you don't know, but we grew up amongst praise poets, who wore a certain different type of regalia, but who were very expressive, just jumping in the air, and like, who were part of every fabric of our society, whether it was someone being led to their grave, whether it was someone being led to the altar to get married, whether it was celebrating, the coming of new rains, there was always a poet there. And so that intricacy, which exists in other cultures across the world, which may not be seen or experienced far more intimately as the ones that are known, like Japanese, like you know, the Western experience of poetry, I believe that people will start finding new ways of also discovering themselves, because they would have learned these different forms that when revealed will show that, you know, the poetic systems that also exist elsewhere are just as formidable as any.
Yes, I mean that sounds amazing. Let's hope that we can find out more about lots of different ways of making poems.
Yes.
So you know, as a child, did you carry on? Did you write poetry all the time? Or
Yes, yeah, I was addicted to it. I was a bit of a recluse, you know, so so being a recluse, one of the easiest things to gravitate towards, um, especially for me, whose dad was a principal, you know, when he came from the war of liberation in Zimbabwe, when he came back from the war, he started, you know, teaching himself again. He became obsessed with education, then became a principal. So he was already always surrounded by books. So my curiosity peaked as far as words are concerned. I loved to surround myself with words. And when I was away from his place, I was addicted to this library called Mzilikazi Library. And we used to be there from morning until evening, or if we've just come back from school, go straight there. And some of it was practical because we were escaping the sounds of violence and sounds of you know, all of those mixed sounds that went on in the community that we lived in. So my escape would be to the library, because then I'll get a chance of that silence. But then with that, with that, it came a very, very obsessive love for books. My next door neighbor, we had grown so obsessed that we'll go um, and take 3 books each in the morning and compete as to who will finish all of them and return them in the evening. So it was just such a fascinating time, you know, to grow into that culture of reading. But you know, I failed my O-level literature, English literature. At first I was upset, you know, because I wanted to go on to A-level and do English literature. But now I see that it was a blessing, because from 16, from that devastation of not proceeding to do literature, because I loved it. I loved it. I was one of the best students. So I don't know what happened there. So anyway, but it allowed me to be unconventional in expressing myself. It allowed me to explore my own way of swimming in the magic of words, to immerse myself, placing, you know, any barriers or blinkers, you know. So I was just like going with the tide. And so it's been brilliant, because I can I think I write more authentically uh, by thinking of my expressions of culture and my experiences and what I saw as a child, what I can see from the communities I'm around, and delve even into the spiritual, you know, side of poetry. I find that liberating, that I never have to worry about, okay, I'm going to write a tanka, I'm going to write a, you know, but still I'm now slowly teaching myself that I'm now teaching myself all those forms as well, like poetic devices, you know. But it's better now because I'm teaching myself after I've already cemented this writing in the way that I feel. I want to write what I feel.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
myself invoke words, or let words invoke themselves inside me, and I sit back and just watch.
That's amazing, and it just shows how wrong it is. Exams and people failing and passing and all of this.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
when there are people just trying to express themselves like you were trying to do, and in such a wonderful way that can't be contained
Most certainly.
inside exam papers.
Most certainly. Thank you so much.
It would be wonderful to hear a few more of your poems if
Oh,
it's
certainly, certainly, I'll share some.
cool.
My dreadlock is the blood vein that pumps blood to my heart. 10 tons of black hair on my head completes the art of my ancestry. When my follicles shot out of my scalp, they sang a song. And as they became long, they sang a lullaby to the sky that wrapped itself around each planet like octopus arms. I know black people whose afro is a disco ball for the greatest parties of heaven. Black hair is incredible when it's on the scalp of an angel. It grows with its set of wings. Black hair grows in the name of love. My dad took his black hair to war. I'm told my dad, his hair was an AK-47. It shot out of his scalp like there were bullets in his hair. They say my dad had hair that made bullet-riddled statements. Black hair is God, saying, God damn, I am God. God damn, I create. I molded Zomkonto, and on the first day was black hair. And black hair was with God. Black hair is beautiful. I defy gravity with my black hair. I am a moon landing with this black hair. I am Kemet all over again, a pharaoh by design. Can't tell me my hair is not a sign, a written testament saying, brother, king, the heavens were gentle in making each strand. They wove your dreadlock one love song at a time. And when heaven was done, she cried, knowing this was the best hair she had fashioned out of her own. Black hair is a prayer. Our mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy hair. Black hair shapeshifts. Black hair loves you so much that when it grows to afro, it becomes a baobab tree. When black hair wakes up in the morning, it sings songs that shut shit down. My grandmother Esther had hair made of diamonds. Black hair, you have to mine it like in the Congo, but no one dies. You wake up and run your fingers inside black hair and you retrieve those nuggets of gold. Black hair has been around for centuries. Black hair stood the test of time. Black hair, oh, black hair is the love of my life. Black hair, oh, black hair. The darker you are, the more honest you are. And sometimes as I run my fingers through my hair and just contemplating, it truly is a joy to think of how far we have come as Black folk. So around Black History Month, I always make sure that I'm celebrating somehow, knowing that I'll celebrate for the rest of the year as well. Because who would have thought that black folk would wave words of cash thicker than their majestic lips, thicker than the sheets of smoke that rose when they burned down Wall Street, not knowing that we would rise from those ashes like the phoenix, and that matchsticks themselves just happen to be our next of kin, black diamonds that the world once refused to dig until it became too obvious how bright we shine from underneath the skin. That layers of wealth that run underneath this melanin are a sworn testament unto themselves, that the veins that connect to the power grid in our ancestral names mean that we are not just dark-skinned, but we see through the dark. And with these proud, thick lips as the light switch, we spoke loud and bright as lightning, rewriting the future in the same handwriting as Mansa Musa. Who would have thought that from a laughing stock to owning stock, black folk would turn the auction block on his head, choosing instead to bid on each other's genius, with each and every one of us as the highest bidder? Who would have thought it possible that we would melt the chains that bound us? Into coins for a currency our very own, and every piece of wood in the slave ships that confined us would become the bookshelves for a history that knows no revision, with a description of every single mineral they store, because who needs 40 acres when we are several planets of land short? What does one do with a single mule when there are countless heads of beasts of ours that were driven over the cliff? Who needs to be painted with the same brush when we are such an explosion of color, which needs several forests of trees to account for the brush strokes? We are the new canvas, painted with the shades of ebony and natural gold. We are the marble streets of resilience that pour out the avenues of an infinitely rich legacy. We are the bursting rhythm of a rekindled dream upon which Black Wall Street rises at last, not as a mere echo of the past, but as a symphony of redemption conducted by the hands that once counted their losses and tears, not as a metaphor of our reputation, but a reclamation of wealth beyond currency to that of identity, dignity, and the unyielding belief that despite the shadows of the past, we still cast bold silhouettes upon the pages of present time. And all of this progression, leads back to my matriarch, that made it possible for me to see these Black ancestral strands that tie my history and future together with such elegance and complete Black excellence. So I wrote this for her on her birthday. I wrote this poem not because you were born on this day, but because from out of space, you arrived on planet Earth with such grace that your entrance made it seem like you were floating a few feet above the ground. But eventually your crown weighed you down, and as you lowered and touched the surface of the earth, your essence forced the tectonic plates below to crash into each other, falling out of the kitchen sink where Mother Earth washes dishes with both cold waterfalls and hot lava. Mama, as you shook the whole earth with your heartbeat, the world and everything in it was all over the place. But you saw where each tiny molecule of everything around you, and you put it all back together exactly as it was. Because you're a goddess, Mama. And every magician and healer deserves their praise. I wrote this poem not because it's the day you were born, but because your birthday is mine too. It is the day I took my flight on the wings of a huge mythical bird with invisible wings that keep growing a feather at a time until you arrive in your mother's womb. As if you were not born, if I had not been born, I would still be in the waiting room, looking up at whether the number would ever be called. And when you uttered your first cry, I was ready to walk out. It is hard being a ghetto mother, because you are ashamed. The world will laugh at you with all different kinds of pain. From rent to school fees, to funeral tents for hire, to being afraid to walk at night with no one realizing that when you arrived from outer space, the light you were covered in was filled with every gemstone known to men. That the broken tower lights on days when they would miraculously turn on were actually powered by your fast beating heart as you walked in the dark, hoping they come back on and showed you the way. That the light in your eyes was meant for shining, but not for shining light on your tears. Sihlala sifunga ukuthi omama sizabenzela okuhle. So my dream is that you hold on and drown the world's laughter no matter what form it disguises itself in. Because the universe is always hiding a miracle, Mama. The universe always hides its best hand, saving it for when everyone had already assumed it had lost the game. Zomkond.
Oh, they're so amazing. I absolutely love your poetry. It just flows so much.
Thank you.
Do you actually write it down? I believe you have a poetry anthology.
Yes, I do write it down. I'm actually working on my first book. So I won't speak much about that, but I'm hoping that it's done by this year. So that's my biggest, that'll be my biggest joy. It keeps me awake at night because you know how you fear how people will receive you. But I always tell myself, I think the best attitude to assume is that you're writing for you.
Yes,
So
I
that
think
you can free yourself of all those words to make
Yeah.
way for new words to enter those spaces, you know, to enter the waiting rooms. And so I love performing a lot, and I love just speaking on themes that are meant to help us think alternatively, you know, help us really think alternatively, and also show that these places that we come from that are always thought of to be inferior, or that no, through us we can explain those misconceptions. We can we can we can redirect people to a new thinking. So it's not speaking anything out of anger, it's speaking something to redirect people's thinking, to say, oh, I thought it was like this, but Zomkondo showed me that no, it's like that. You know, there's a power in that when we keep, because that's what we all do. If an Irish poet comes over to me and redirects my thinking, I'm happy because now I've learned something new. If if a Serbian poet comes and redirects my thinking through their poetry, now I have a new body of knowledge and might be able to lead myself to the deeper, to the deeper knowledge that exists about the things that people talk about. Someone talks about the Armenian genocide in their poem. I might spend the next evening reading about it, to the core. So there's power in what we do with words when it's an intimate sharing of that magic that then opens even to the most beautiful parts of us. We're like, oh, this is how they love over there, or this is how this individual poet views love, or it's a very powerful thing to possess, to be able to throw that magic of words, because I think we are some of the best gladiators as poets. It's such great luck for us to be poets, all of us in here, you know, because it's a great way of seeing the world through a very, very beautiful, you know, mosaic, you know, I don't know how to put it, but to see it through this glass, like this multicolored
No, you're
glass.
putting it really well.
Yeah, it's, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
It's humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's kind of picking up the theme that Debbie Galt had in her poem about
Yes, yes,
individual people being able to make a difference,
yes, yes,
and
yes,
us all understanding each other better.
yes,
So
yes,
that's incredibly powerful.
yes, yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I
So,
appreciate it.
is there anything else you'd like
Oh
to
yeah, for
tell
sure,
us?
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Would you
yes. Let
I
me see.
don't like to share some more poems, or would you like to talk a little
Okay,
bit more
okay.
about
All right,
your own?
let me share some more.
Yeah.
I knew a blind man who used to feel about the walls as if they were the breasts of his late mother. And religiously, he would kiss those walls as if he expected the braille upon them to tell him something from his mother's mouth. Secret message like, rest in peace, Ma. But the truth is, he loved that there was a wall between him and the underworld, instead of a void that would have made him walk first into the sea. I was also blind, but now I see. My world was a confusion of gigantic bifocals that choked my vision because I used to squint so hard to find out why were we born here? Do you know the dust in the ghetto can blind you the moment you walk out of the door? The whole ghetto is like a Burning Man concert. Why would we be given eyes to see if we were to get blinded at the end of the day? Why would it does not make common sense why we would be given these eyes to see how fast our fathers' feasts were after the beer had blinded their common sense? No one ever thought to use love as a walking stick because there is so much evidence of pain that a walking stick gathers along the way. I remember the time I had to fake blindness to catch a free train ride to see my best friend breathe his last. You see, anything free I am bound to reach for, even if it means shutting my eyes momentarily for 2 hours and having some old lady lead me towards the train as if I didn't need to hold her hand first. But I had to go ghetto so I can get to hold my right to die brother's hand and let him know my eyes were wide open enough to find out who had stabbed him in the back. The blind leading the blind, the aimless leading the aimless, the armless leading the armless. I have seen with both eyes what Cyclops would hate seeing with just one. And when they ask me why sometimes I hide behind dark glasses, I tell them my eyes bleed at the brutality of how we treat each other. So my hope to not see black and white, but the full spectrum has me clutching coals and swimming in ashes. Imagine all black and white and blind. They say a blind man whose cane is made of poison ivy will have to see exactly where he's tapping in case he poisons his own foot. I was blind, but now I see. Now I wish I had never seen it all. And part of that blindness is always the obsession to try and control women's bodies. So I wrote this. It's called body autonomy. Then There are no health insurance companies around when truth hurts. In a world where self-worth means someone has to control someone else's body, inside which that self-love is supposed to be contained. Because we have remained a species obsessed with the ownership of others. So we build enough slave ships undercover to snatch them naked out of their skin. And if we cannot physically drag them to the docks to hold them in, we build the slave ships around them when they are too distracted breastfeeding their kids. I grew up with mothers who couldn't afford mops to clean after themselves when they bled profusely, either from miscarriages or body blows that gathered around them like tornadoes, with no single siren to warn them. And when their tears broke the levees, they were blamed for the flood, as if anyone had ever noticed the dozen tsunamis of pain that scaled their spines like alpine climbers, seeking for a new limb to drum. I grew up amongst mothers whose silence was a commodity, which they traded along with other wares they sold at the market, hoping that those who bought their food would be alert enough to taste the utter disgust at the brutality of feasts that they received. Mothers whose hips were a national anthem upon which they flew fatherless children at half-mast, only because someone told them abortion was a sin. So they woke up each day wanting to love these bastard kids they could not feed, while aborting desperate cries for help inside time capsules lodged in the pillows, which the world will never know, nor ever open. And there is always the danger that you become the same monster your father was. There have been days when my own fingers also felt like a great pair of prison bars, and I feel like incarcerating those I love, clutching them by their sweater so they won't walk away, until they wanted to crawl out of both sweater and their body to leave me just clutching skin and bones. And I call that not wanting to be alone. And I know there are fathers that tell women what to do with their bodies in the name of a happy home, but no house is ever a refuge when the body is screaming to be released. And I'll end it with something on a lighter note. So to all of you, this is for you, just to inspire you today. Remember the next time that you break, that you are a complex machine, and that the tools that it takes to put you back together again are not made of metal, but soft things that do not weigh much on the scales used by this world to measure our worth. We are boundless, weightless, and your birth was a magical musical note to complete the rhythm of all creation. You are a complex machine. Breaking down is necessary because we are made of very delicate breaths held together with the silken ropes of extremely fragile heartbeats, each trying to connect to the next with as little heavy breathing as possible, not struggling for air, but fumbling for a strength that holds together our bodies just long enough to exhale. Because we have a lifelong contract with trees. A promise that these lungs, although not made of bark, the branches that hold them in place in our chests will suck in each morsel of oxygen and help us to proclaim at the top of those same lungs that we are here voluntarily, that we are not forcing this living thing, that we did not arrive in this world kicking and screaming, but that it was the world that started yelling in our faces in a language we couldn't recognize. And when we became traumatized, the world still charged us for inventing our own language of love. That in our several attempts to find meaning, life was hurling stones at our engines. And since we are not grindstone machines, we broke down. But those same stones that the world threw at us over time We use them to build the mountains that you see in front of you right now. Because rather than be buried underneath them, we built ourselves a fortress, erected rock statues out of ourselves. Instead of become stone-hearted, we are complex machines. They are part of us that cannot be replaced. There are tiny screws in us that cannot be mimicked. The mechanics of our being needs more than a simple oil change. We repair our brokenness by making poems out of ourselves, wind chimes that dance from the raging feet of our resilient theme songs. We are smart, complex machines, far from artificial intelligence, putting the ART in art, never AIT in artificial. Zomkond.
Wow, thank you so much. Absolutely amazing. And I love the positivity that comes through. I mean, you don't shy away from talking about the most difficult, unacceptable things in life, but you find a positive in it all. And I think that's so amazing and important for us, especially living in the times that we're living in.
Thank you. I
so
really
much.
appreciate that. And thank you all poets for sharing your magic of words. That's truly appreciated, and it's food for the soul. Stay inspired always.
Definitely. I'm just wondering if there's anybody else who'd like to ask Zonkonto any questions. Yeah, Chris Shanley, would you like to? You need to unmute, I think. You need to unmute. Sorry.
Thank you, Jill. Honto, I don't know if you've read the comments. I put a few down. Spirit, yeah. My understanding of spirituality is being able to reach into a deep essence that many of us don't actually reach. And my impression is your use of language and imagery, and also your great awareness of what, of the direction the world should be going in, and what we should appreciate and what we should stand up about, is absolutely it's inspired me tonight. So honestly, sorry, but
that is so humbling. That is so humbling.
I'm almost getting a bit tearful. The reason I get tearful is also when I think of my great uncle Francis. Sometimes this wave of emotion comes in for just a minute and then it goes. So I think what's happening here is that wave is coming from him, and he's absolutely rejoicing in some spiritual realm. I can feel him jumping for joy because he's witnessed you. So I hope, I'm sure maybe I'll speak for most of us tonight. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure. It really has, and I will follow you, and
Oh, thank you.
I
I'll leave my details.
I will think of you. Yeah. Well, also I will think of you when I'm writing now and again. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you.
Precious. That is precious. And may your uncle's soul, forever rest in power.
Oh, thank you very much. He will appreciate that. Yeah. God bless. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you for your words. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Just say that I first saw Zonkonto's work on Facebook, so that's one place that you can find. Where else can you be found, Zonkonto?
I am on Instagram. I'll type them out here. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I also have a link tree which has other work that I've done that are not the conventional, poetry, because I always write in different forms, and the other places and literary magazines that I've appeared in. So I'll give the information here, and it'll be such a a great honor to follow all of you back as well.
Thank you so much. That's
Thank you.
brilliant.
Thank you
I-
for having me. I appreciate
I
it.
don't know if there's anybody else who would like to ask anything.
Yes, please, Jill. if That's okay.
Excellent. That's Jacqueline. I recognize her voice.
Thank you so much. So it's not really a question, it's just to say, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I won't forget the name Conto. I loved everything. I loved the energy. I loved the way you're so very you done so many different poems, some for culture, women. You just dived into so many different places, and I felt that I was there along the whole journey. You took me on a journey, and I'm just so proud of your voice, proud of your work. Even when you speak, it's art. I think you mentioned there that you was writing since the age of 8, but I think that it automatically lives in you even when you speak. It is art and it is poetry. So for me, I'm just so grateful for GFMA for being here and for me to experience your journey, your art and your work. And thank you for inviting us there. It was so special.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's exactly how I feel, Jacqueline, as well. I'm sure there's many other people who are feeling the same.
That's encouraging, and thank you for sharing the journey with me. I am extremely humbled. It's always good to be listened to, and I think we don't do that a lot in the world. That's why there's so many mental health problems where we have ceased to listen to each other because we are in spaces that tell us to limit the speaking, and so thank you for listening, and thank you for your encouraging words, because I don't take them lightly. Thank you.
Thank you. So
I'd like to say you are just amazing. You really are. It's not just the incredible quality and the depth of your writing, but it's the passion in your delivery. You are an incredible performance poet, but it isn't like it's a performance. It's just like you are natural. You have very powerful presence. So, I mean, for me, it was just an amazing evening. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Well
much.
said,
I
well said,
appreciate your words.
well
Thank you.
said, Louisa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm grateful.
totally agree with you as well, Louisa. Is there anybody else who would like to say anything or ask anything? If not, I'd just like to thank you so much, Sonkanto. People have put it so well that I don't want to repeat what's been said, but I agree with all of them. It's just been an amazing, magical evening. Thank you so much, and I hope you're going to come back and do some more.
I would love to.
Yeah,
I would love
your
to.
amazing work. Thank you so
I
much.
would love to. I definitely love to. And thank you everyone for giving my journey a chance, and for listening, and for all your wonderful words. Stay inspired.
Thank you so much. We will. And a massive thank you to the other performers tonight who were also fantastic. It was Chris Shaney, Debbie Galt, Jacqueline Waziri, and Andrew Theodoru. Thank you so much, all of you, and looking forward to seeing you at the next Poetry and Spoken Word night, which will be in April. And also, I think we're going to end with an advert we have a Women's Day celebration, which is going to be in Greenwich. Be nice to see you in Greenwich one day, Zonconto, if you come over. Just tell us and we definitely want to meet you. So we're going to go out now with an advert for our Women's Day event. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Honso. Thank you. God bless.
Oh, thank you, everyone.
Oh no,
Oh,
it's playing up again.
oh dear.
Why does this? Every so often it just does it. Anyway, that looks like that's it.
Have you got a flyer that you can put up for it?
Yes.
It's a shame because it's a really cool advert.
Yeah.
So this is going to take place in Greenwich, UK, London. Hopefully,
There we go.
this is our International Women's Day event. It's also part of Black History 365, and I really liked what you said about Black History as well. I think we need you over here to celebrate with us, Zonconto. Anyway, good night, everyone. Thank you so much. See you again.
Good night. Good night, Jill.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks, bye.
everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
darling. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.
Wonderful,
Blessings.
wonderful evening. God bless.
Ah, there's the advert.
Get a button.
Baby, I'm calling for you, and I'm stuck in a loop. Baby, I'm calling for you, and I'm stuck in a loop. Baby, I'm calling for you, and I'm stuck.
You got it in the end.
Yes.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.